Welcome Strategy Battlegamers to the GBHL YouTube video. You're here with your host GBHL Damian, and this is another one of my unboxing, assembly, painting and tactics videos. Oh yes, it has been a long time since I did one of these. I just went and checked. There's 4 in the can so far. I've done over the years in this kind of irregular series, which were Alfred, the Ogres, Gundabad Ogres, then the Gundabad Troll and the Troll Brute. And then I haven't done one for over a year, nearly a year and a half actually, September 2018, September 2017 I think the Troll Brute one went on. I really enjoy doing these, and I actually started one for the Iron Hills Chariot, presumably straight after Stumpy. And I've still got a load of clips in the can for it, but then basically a load of weird stuff happened around last year about what we were going to do with the Iron Hills Chariot, and Dave ended up converting the Arable Dwarfs for it, so that whole project got derailed. So I might just wrap that up fairly quickly, just looking at the finished version of it essentially, and try and get that one out. So if I do that, this might actually be number 6 of these, because I might be able to push out that Chariot one before this. Who knows though? We'll have to wait and see. So yeah, if you're new to this series, basically what I do on this, entirely arbitrarily, as the mood takes me, I take a model or a kit from the box. I unbox it, I show you the kit, I assemble it, I paint it, and then I take it to an event of some sort and use it in games and have a little chat about the tactics of it at the end of the video. And so this is the hopefully by the time you're watching this, which will be after the GT, I will have done a few hobby vlogs, and this is part of a new I don't know, initiative from me this year to try and get hobby vlogging again, because I really do enjoy it and I'd like to be producing another content like that. So indeed, here we are with number 5 at the moment, but possibly number 6, and it is don't know if you can see that, it's one of the generic white boxes. It's the Mordor War Catapult kit I'm going to be doing for this one. So again, as I said, entirely eclectic choice of kits. The reason for this is basically that I try and pick kits that are relatively simple in terms of, I don't want to do, I don't know, 50 Moran and Orcs or something, because it's a bit, it might take me a while. I wouldn't do that in one hit, whereas the Troll Catapult I can kind of put together and do as one project, so the whole thing gets done relatively close together. I also try and do it to things that aren't that regularly seen, so there's not a lot of Troll Catapult love out there, I suppose. It's not one of the regular kits you see around the tables or around hobby vlogs and stuff, so I thought it might be nice to show it off a bit. So I've got this, I put this up as part of my Grand Tournament army. Again, that will have happened by now, probably the time you're watching it. I'm taking this to the Warhammer World Grand Tournament in March. I think it's the 9th and 10th of March or something. So I'm building a Morannon force from absolute scratch for this army, 700 points Morannons. I'm working on the Warriors at the moment, and then I'm going to be working on this Catapult. Basically, I need to get 700 points with as few models as possible. That's why I put this up. I've got the Catapult, I've got another Troll in there, I've got Gothmog, all trying to kind of bump the points up. I'm sure the army's going to be absolutely dreadful, but yeah, I thought it'd be good fun. I've also, it's worth saying, I've never used a siege engine. I was thinking about this. I think in all the years I've played the game, I honestly think I've never fired a single siege engine, either in a narrative game, a practice game or a tournament. I don't think I've fired a single shot with any siege engine ever, which is kind of bizarre, and I've certainly not painted one. I've got an Iron Hills Ballista half painted, but I've never finished it. So I'm quite kind of excited to get this kit put together, built, and then on the table. So that's what we'll be doing. As I might have said at the start, it's the 21st of January at the moment, and I would expect this to be up by the 21st of March essentially, because it'll have to be painted for the GT, and then I'll have to come home and talk about the exploits of the Catapult at the GT and see how it got on. So yeah, I'm recording this now. It's always quite surreal, and I'll see you with the completed thing. You'll be watching this in about 2 months. Who knows what will have happened by then. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to put the kit under the camera, and I'm going to show you the parts. It's the fine cast set rather than the metal set, which to be honest on this I'm really happy about, because you've got a Troll and you've got a Catapult, which can be quite big heavy kits, and if they were metal I think they'd be a pain to assemble, so I'm quite positive and optimistic about the fact this is fine cast. So we will, I hope you enjoy this. I hope it's good to get another one of these videos going, and I will see you soon. Okay, so here we are for the unboxing. Let's see what we've got in here. A tricky one to open. So there we go. No paper in there, so it doesn't seem to be no instructions. That'd be good fun. But here is that one of the sort of standard 2 boxes. I don't know if 2 boxes is a thing. But we've got 2 compartments, and let's get stuck in. So first things first, let's start with the troll, shall we? So here we go. So obviously the troll loader is really cool. Got his legs. This is the fine cast version. This was available in metal once upon a time, but it's long been fine cast. And as you can see, look at his legs. It all seems to be perfectly good. I bought some fine cast recently, and they seem to have greatly improved it. I know they're not calling it fine cast anymore either. They're calling it resin, but this seems to be absolutely fine. Nice detail on his back there, the straps. No particular miscasts that I can see. As always with fine cast, you're going to have loads of these triangles to kind of cut off, but that doesn't bother me too much. Should we find some more troll? So we have this, which is his right arm, which is holding the stone to be loaded. So nice, lovely details on his fingernails. Quite a noticeable mould line there, but that's the advantage actually of the fine cast stuff, that's really easy to move. Fair enough. Let's go dig in for some other troll bits. Oh, there's a face. So we have the troll face. That's really cool. That'd be fun to paint. Lots of detail in the mouth there. Really enjoyed doing the Gundabad troll and ogre faces because you can lavish a bit more time on them. And while we're here, we also have what looks like, I imagine that goes that way up, does it? That's one of the side struts of the catapult. You see lovely detail on the ropes. And a little piece in here, looks like it's some sort of winch or something. You have to be very careful with this. See, is this flash here, or is this an important part of the kit? So as I said, I'm going to have to be very careful looking at the picture to make sure we get the right bit on that. But that's quite cool. So we're missing an arm of the troll, and here it is. That's not off. No, I won't. Oh, and that's obviously, that's where the other arms come out of, isn't it? Let's drop it on it. So here is the other arm of the troll. Again, looking very good. No notable miscasts that I can see. You can't seem to see any air bubbles on any of these or any bits missing or anything. So all looking very cool. While we've got the sprue here, we have another panel here. I think this is the cross panel that will join the two of this one and whatever other bit it is. That probably, let's have a look, does that sort of slot onto there, something like that, I imagine, because this bit here has the fabric wrapped around it, the padding, so that the catapult arm will kind of fire up and hit it here and hit the padding. I think that's the idea. But again, very nice. Detail looks good and nice and crisp. And we have our first crew member as well, the first orc, and this guy is going to be the siege veteran, I would think. So he gets his point of might, will and fate, which can be really handy for siege engines these days. As you can see again, he's really good. Look at that. The pointing fingers, like spot on. That's the sort of area where you would expect Finecast to struggle and have problems in the past, but doesn't appear to be here. He looks really crisp. Doesn't seem to be any issues with it. Lovely detailing on the face. There you go, looking good. And around here, this weird sort of headdress bit. Again, detailing on his fingers all looks good. That's great. We'll jump onto this one, which is the second of these. So you've already seen this one sidebars. We've got another one of those. Again, looking rather nice. All seems to be fine. Good straight lines, no warping. This appears to be... no idea what this is. Some other part of the catapult. Oh, this must go at the back. This must hold... this must lie down on the bottom of it. if I grab the base here, this is the base of the catapult. It's quite a cool chunky bit of resin. And that over. And you see along each side you've got 3 holes. And 2 of those holes must be for the bottom of these bits. So these must kind of stand up there, or stand up there, or stand up there or something. And then I reckon, where's it gone? This other piece here must go into those holes along there. Something like that. Must be some variation on that. But that's obviously just another little part of the kit that joins up to something else. So more catapult bits there. We've got the big firing arm, which is very, very cool. See under here, this is like, I'm missing a bit here. So what's going to go on top of this? Oh, here we go. So we've got this bit here, which must slot onto that. Yeah, so you got something like that. So this is the weight, isn't it? This is the counterweight. So your rock that you fire will be down at this end, I believe. Yeah, that'll be right. Your rock that you fire will be down at this end, and then this is the heavy kind of bound up rock that that drops and launches it. So it's 2 separate pieces, but again, very, very nicely done. Nice rock with kind of metal banding around it. I'm really looking forward to doing this. Probably mentioned this already, but I haven't done a siege engine before. I'm quite excited to get a big, nice big catapult on the table. And there's the bottom of that. So while we're here, we might as well have a look at this bit, which is the other end of that, which is the kind of pouch or basket or whatever that holds the rock. So that must have a little, yep, that sits on there, something like that. And then that's the rock that gets fired by the catapult, which is quite cool. Again, looking at the top of this, all looks really, 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 really good. Doesn't seem to be any defects or anything like that. So we've gone through that. And then here we have the 4 wheels of the catapult. Wheels is wheels, not too much to talk about there, but they all look good. And then, yeah, that's the other half of that kind of counterweight. Put that down. And then finally, I believe, we have the other 2 crew, which are cool. So you have this guy here, he's got a kind of, some sort of hammer that probably hits a switch that fires the catapult. He's quite a cool looking dude. Orc warrior, of course, not a Moran. And then this guy who, what's he holding? Kind of looks like a spear. He's got a spear point down here, but it looks like, maybe there's a bit of the kit that attaches on there. Don't know. Let's look at the pictures again. But again, nice, cool, and the detail on this is really, really good, you know. I mean, in all honesty, like, for all the gripes about Finecast, this looks fantastic. Again, looking around, I'm looking around the bottom of these robes, because that's where, traditionally, that's where the bubbles would be. And you can certainly see a few under here, but nothing that you actually see from the top, which is pretty cool. So it does look like maybe whatever, I don't know if that's something to do with the moulds or the stuff they use, the type of resin or whatever it is, but it definitely looks like this is a big improvement. So there's the other 2 crew, which are pretty cool. So there we go. There's the Troll Catapult kit. It's very, very cool. You obviously get a 60mm base. I can't see that at the moment. 60mm base and 4 25mm bases, which is weird. Why is that? Don't know why that is. There's not a separate bucket or something, is there? Maybe that's just because they used to come on those little sprues of 4. And they just put a whole one in. Who knows? But very, very cool kit. And I'm really, really, really impressed with the Finecast. The quality of the resin is really, really good. I haven't seen anything. You never know, I might stumble across something when I'm actually cleaning it up and assembling it. But as of yet, I haven't found any sort of big issues or problems that would make me want to, send any of this back or ask for a replacement copy. I think it looks really, really great. So good thing about Finecast is on a kit like this is it's light and it's really easy to remove mould lines from. So that's going to be my evening tonight. I'm going to get all this stuff assembled and try and build a catapult, and then hopefully by the next time whenever I come back, I'll have the troll and the catapult and the crew all assembled to show you. Alright, see you then. And we are back with the second clip of this assembly unboxing, painting, tactics, hobby blog thingy. And I feel I must apologise because I kind of forgot to show you the assembled models before I started undercoating them. So I have begun to assemble them, and I have started undercoating, but hopefully I've saved it just in time. So I'm going to start with the crew members. We've got the 3 of them here. So we'll have a look at these guys. And I have to admit, the first thing that strikes me is that I was really impressed on the whole with the kit. I know this is resin, and it's the fine cast. It's very shadowy there. Sorry, hope this is showing up all right. And people have their issues with it, but these models were great. There wasn't a single issue that I actually noticed in terms of any miscast. They went together brilliantly. You can actually see, hopefully, the detail on these is kind of amazing. So if we look at like the chainmail down here, and the kind of ruff around his neck, and then the face itself, there are no miscasts here, and I'm actually very, very impressed with the level of detail on these guys. Really, really pleased. So there's your first crew member. Here's the second guy. His little catapult hammer. Again, great detail on the face. No miscasts. Lovely, lovely detail. Lots of nice recesses. I like painting robes. I don't like painting skin. I don't like painting armour. I like robes and cloth. So I'm quite looking forward to getting some paint onto that. Pretty cool. And finally, the Siege Veteran. Here he is. Again, I think I pointed this out in the unboxing, but look at the finger. That's exactly the sort of area you'd expect there to be damage in the fine cast, but it's not. Again, might have mentioned this before, but they're also not calling it fine cast anymore, either. They're calling it resin. So I don't know if they have changed the material they're using, or quite what the technicalities are there, but I think there's clearly been a noticeable improvement. Really lovely model. Like very, very crisp detailing on the ear and on the nose. Looks pretty great. Looks like there'll be a lot of fun detail to kind of pick out on him. So there is this really bizarre little headdress thing he's wearing. It's very odd. Very, very odd. So there we go. So are the 3 crew members. Now, as I said, I got a little too excited and took the bigger bits out to the shed to spray them. So unfortunately, the troll is sprayed white. You didn't get to see him in his finished state. But again, really, really great. I did notice, I will say on this, the difference between how, you see how spoilt we are with Forge World, that around here, you can still kind of see it. Can you see the green stuff I had to do here? When you put these together, there were definite gaps that needed filling. It's not too bad on this one, because it was basically just on the 2 shoulders. But it's amazing how well the Forge World resin models go together with the very, very minimal kind of need for green stuff. Now, I don't think this is an issue with fine cast. It's also very much an issue with metal, I remember in the past. But it is, having put together a load of kind of big Forge World kits recently, like the Gundabad Trolls and Ogres, it does suddenly remind you, it's a bit of a hard bump down to earth when you kind of put together one of these. You go, oh, I actually need to do a fair bit of green stuffing on that. But it wasn't too bad. So here he is, very, very cool model. Love the face, loads and loads of character in that. Should be good fun to pull out the details on him. Quite cool. Holding the rock, obviously. And there is the Catapult Troll. Ready to go. Lovely kit. And finally, we have, again, undercoated, the Catapult, which is an awesome, awesome kit. And if you're wondering what's coming out the bottom, it's this. I decided to make a stand for it. I'm basically thinking about when I was painting it and getting underneath here, and I didn't want to be kind of holding the kit like that. So what I've done is drilled up, hopefully you can see just here, just drilled up underneath into the catapult, and put a kind of, it's just a cocktail stick to be honest, and a bit of foam board at the bottom, so that I've got something to hold while I kind of paint on it. Part of the reason I did that was that I've decided to put it on this. You don't get a base with this kit at all, but I really don't like things that don't have base in the game. I think it's a base-to-base game, and your stuff needs to be on a base. And I also think, just purely pragmatically, If it's not on a base, then you have to hold your kit to move it and touch it and risk damaging the paint job. So as you can see, this kind of medium oval base fits. It will fit perfectly, the catapult on it. This is the one that comes with Radagast on sleigh. That's actually where I pinched it from. Got one of Matt Davis's Generation Shift bases for Radagast, so this one was going spare. So very, very handily donated to my catapult. But you can't glue it down because then you can't really texture the base. So my plan is paint this whilst holding it with its stand, and then texture the base, and then glue the finished catapult onto the base. So yeah, having a look at the catapult, it's absolutely brilliant. Really, really, really chuffed. I think it's a great kit. Again, no miscast. I haven't had to bend anything here. I haven't had to heat up anything, which you might think, given that there's lots of straight edges and stuff, you'd need to. It all went together really, really, really well. Lovely detail, right down to this little firing mechanism there. Get close up on that. Again, is that not the sort of bit that people in the past would have thought that Finecast would struggle with in terms of miscast, but it looks absolutely perfect. I couldn't actually decide with these two little handles. Here's a little bit here and there's a little bit here. I couldn't work out for the life of me if they're meant to be on the kit from here. If that's meant to, is that meant to end just there like that and just be a little bit, or is this bit meant to be on it? And I looked around the internet loads, and there seems to be a half the Mordor Troll catapults have left these bits on and half have taken them off. But I left them on. I think they look like it could be intended to be some sort of brake system. For the, like, you know, this drops down here perhaps, and then it stops the catapult moving maybe. But I don't think they look bad being left on. Anyway, we've got the thing ready to go here and this bit. So yeah, it was a joy. I've got to say, I was really, really impressed with the Finecast on here. You see, you got really nice texture on the wood grain there. The ropes look great. Really easy to clean up because it's Finecast rather than metal, and really, really easy to assemble. And the order of it does matter. Like the way you have to, if you notice that see, this is sticking through here. That is that bit there. So if you bear in mind that you've got to kind of push this side in and kind of catch this bit and this bit at the same time, it's actually quite fiddly. And doing that in metal would have been an absolute nightmare. So yeah. I'm really impressed by this, and I think I'm really pleased that I've got a Finecast version rather than the metal version. I think it looks cool as well. It's really, I think I've mentioned this before, it's the first siege engine I've ever painted, so I'm really looking forward to it. It's a nice kind of chunky thematic kit, which I'm pretty pleased with. So there we go. In short, I could not praise Finecast or GW resin, whichever it is, enough on this kit. I really, really love it. I think it's come out really, really well. And I'm very, very happy so far and excited. So there we go. There's the assembled kit. I will come back now. Who knows? Maybe halfway through the paint job. Maybe it'll be completely painted. We'll have to wait and see. I think probably halfway through to see how we're getting on with the various bits and bobs would be good. All right. I'll see you then. Okay, and here is the finished catapult. I think I said in the last clip that I would show you when it was half painted or something, but I kind of got carried away and was running out of time and had to get it desperately finished, ready to take off to the GC. So unfortunately I didn't do that, but it is now complete, as you can see. The catapult's mounted on its oval base, the troll's finished, and the 3 crew are finished. Really happy with how it came out. So I'm going to show you those various pieces now. So let's start off with the catapult itself. As I said, I've kind of reviewed the clips since the last time I made it, but I keep saying it, I was super happy with the Finecast on this. I think it came out really well. It was a joy to paint up. I'm just trying to make sure this hopefully looks alright. It's coming across here. This is the kit fully finished. You saw the kind of custom handle I built for it in the last video to help me paint it, which that worked really, really well. I was really pleased with that, and then I kind of mounted it right at the end. So if you were to look right in underneath here, you would see a little kind of bump, a little nub, but no one's ever going to see that, obviously. So in terms of how I painted it, I followed a guide that I've started using quite recently for wood effect, which I think came from a blog I saw Adam do many years ago about his Iron Hills Ballista. that was to start from Mornfang Brown, which isn't really a colour I normally use for this sort of thing, because I've always thought it's a bit, this colour obviously is Mornfang Brown. I use it for my base rims, but I've always thought it was a bit kind of overt and in your face for wood. But what we do is you paint it Mornfang Brown, and then you cover it in Null Oil, which really dulls it down. And then it was just a series of dry brushes after that. So I think I generally do kind of Steel Legion Drab is normally the first, maybe Baneblade Brown, and then possibly Recast Flesh. But I don't really have a particular recipe for it. I just kind of muck around with it until I'm happy with it. So fairly simple. My armour is the metal on here is my usual go-to metal now. Anyone that followed my Gundabad kind of army would know this. So it'll be a Lead Belcher base followed by a wash of Agrax Earthshade, a heavy wash, followed by edge highlighting with Ironbreaker, followed by a heavy wash in the recesses, and then possibly a final highlight with maybe Runefang Steel or Ironbreaker and another wash to come after that. And then otherwise it's just kind of ropes and stuff and stone, which is just various greys and dry brushing. But I was really pleased with it. I think it comes out really well, and I'm really super happy with my decision to put it on the base as well, because as I think I said earlier in the video, it just helps protect it, and it makes the whole thing feel a little chunkier. So yeah, there's the catapult. Next up, let's have a look at the troll. Here he is, a gorgeous model. I was really happy. This guy, let's see how close in here we can get. There he is. Absolutely lovely model. I was really impressed. Came out really well. I was really kind of pleased with the colours. Again, I don't really have any, I can't tell you much by way of tutorial for this guy, because I just I did what I did for, if you go back and look at my Gundabad Ogres and Gundabad Trolls videos, it's just kind of working from a Recast Flesh base, and then basically working kind of dark greys and pinks into the recesses, and then mixing Recast Flesh back into it to kind of highlight up really. And I do lots and lots of layers, really thin layers, until at some point I'm just kind of magically happy. I don't have a particular pattern that I like to follow. I just kind of add loads and loads more layers to it, and generally speaking, if it works, it comes out really well. That's how I've kind of started painting all my monsters' skin recently. I gave him the kind of the red loincloth painted in the same way as all my Rannans, just to time in with that force a bit, and then the rest of it was just cloth really, isn't it? He's got this kind of cool sort of almost executioner's cowl on, which is quite funky. Loads and loads of character in the face there. Hopefully that's coming across. There's another really nice face to paint. Cool little model. Really enjoyed him. Very happy with how he came out. And finally we have the three crew. So these are basically just orcs. Let's start with our siege veteran, or the one certainly that I'll be using as a siege veteran. There he is. He's just painted using exactly the same as my Moran and Orc combo. So I've talked about the armour with the catapult. I don't actually think I've done a Moran tutorial, because I think that's very much been in the time when I was off Facebook, as it were. Off YouTube, sorry. But it's basically Doomball Brown shaded and then worked up with Wazdaka Red and Deathclaw Brown is how I kind of achieved that red. The green, I think, is just Deathworld Forest shaded and then highlighted with maybe Steel Legion Drab or something. I might try and, when I do my next set of Moran and Orcs, I might try and do a little video guide for those, because I'm quite pleased with how my Morans came out. He's really cool though. Funky little model with this funky little headdress. And then we've got this dude, exactly the same, just another Moran and Orc with a hammer. Pretty pleased how these came out. Nothing special. They're not models I'd spent an awful long time on, but tried to give them the same, even though these are Mordor Orcs, I tried to time in with my Morannans with the same kind of colours so the army feels cohesive. I've got a plan to go back and do some Mordor Orcs to fit in with this army as well, and I think what I'll do for them is whereas the Morannans, all their kind of clothing's in red, I'll try and do maybe one piece of the Mordor Orcs in red and then the rest in brown, so they kind of, it ties them together, but they also don't feel quite as uniformed possibly. And then this guy, he's got a kind of cool fur pelt on, which works quite well. Quite nice. There we go. I was pretty pleased with them. Cool. So there we go, there is my complete Mordor War Catapult. Really happy with how it turned out. It's been a fun project to work on, and I'll be taking it off to the GT. The next thing we're going to do though is sit down and have a little chat about its profile, so I'll see you very soon. Yeah, it's 9 months later. So yeah, everything you've seen up to now of me building that catapult, assembling it and all the unboxing took place I think back in February, and it's now December. What can I say? Stuff happens. I was painting it up for the GT. I got it painted inside for the GT, but I just ran out of time to do any filming. I took it to the GT. It was great fun. I really enjoyed using it. I also used it in the battle report for, do we have it here? We do indeed. I used it in our battle report for issue 8 of SBG magazine. I got to use the catapult, and then from March onwards kind of got derailed by other projects and basically the next couple of issues of the magazine, and never got around to finishing this video. So it's been, these clips have been sitting here on the camera for ages, waiting to be finished, and I finally thought now was the time. So I'm a bit rusty. I haven't used the catapult in about 6 months really, in anything but a few casual games. But I wanted to make sure that we finish this video and get it out. So with that in mind, I'm going to conclude these videos how we always do, which is by talking a bit about the profile. So the catapult is fun and kind of topical, I think, because Siege Engine's got a big boost in the new edition, which is super cool. We didn't used to see many Siege Engines at all, and now they're very, very common. And in a range of them, the Iron Hills Ballista has become truly terrifying in the new edition. So much so that actually it had a big points increase, up from 75 to 125, I think, in the latest FAQ. You've also got now the Isengard Ballista as part of the new Rohan at War supplement. The Isengard Ballista has had a nice little buff as part of the assault on Helm's Deep Legion. So I think you're going to see some more of those as well, which is super cool. But probably, I think, maybe failing that, one of the most common siege engines is the Mordor War Catapult now, and that's kind of again because of this bad boy, where everyone got 36 Morannon Orcs, and so you got a new Morannon force, and within the Gondor at War book we got Gothmog's Legion, which is super fluffy and super themey. I know a lot of people think that the general Mordor list is more kind of competitive because of the various choices it gives you, but I do think a lot of people have been playing Gothmog's Legion. Matt Davis just did really well with Gothmog's Legion at Throne of Skulls 2019, when he won all 5 games. He played a beautiful army that won best army there, so congrats to Matt. So they're definitely topical, and they're definitely in, so I thought it'd be a bit fun to kind of chat about the profile in the game. So the profile we're looking at in particular is the Mordor War Catapult from the Armies of the Lord of the Rings book. It's 160 points, which is incredibly pricey, obviously, for a siege engine. But of course, the big thing about this is it comes with a troll, and a Mordor troll by default is 100 points. Now the troll has to stay within a kind of a certain distance of the catapult. So on the one hand, you're not getting a free troll to kind of go off and smash your enemies up with, but the troll is spectacular, and it does mean that right at the back, protecting your siege engine, you've got a troll. I use that quite a lot in the various games I played. That it was very cool to know that if your opponent did want to kind of try and attack your siege engine, there was a massive troll to deal with, and the troll normally costs 100 points. So if you take that off, you're sort of in the region of 60 points for the catapult. Possibly, maybe you apply a tax for the fact that the troll can't move. You also get 3 orcs, including one with a Might, Will and Fate, because he's the siege veteran, so they're about 20 points. So you could argue that the catapult itself is costing you about 40 points. So whilst it seems like a big chunk of points, I absolutely think it's quite a bargain, and particularly for what it can do on the table, I think it's brilliant. So a few things first. Siege Engine's got some nice buffs in the new edition in general. So the first one of those is you get a siege veteran, who I always use as the guy going like that on the Mordor War Catapult. Siege Veteran gets a point of Might, Will and Fate. Really useful. The Fate potentially keeps your crew member alive, but the big ones might, because it means that it's only 1 point of might, but you get to adjust that roll just once, which on Siege Engine is really, really useful. The other thing is deployment, that Siege Engines can always deploy 6 inches on to your board edge now. You used to have, in the old edition, those scenarios where you might end up within 12 inches of the enemy. That would often mean that some Siege Engines couldn't even fire because they were too close, and if they could fire, they're often attacked very easily. So the fact that you now always get to deploy your Siege Engine within 6 inches of your table edge is a really, really good buff. There is a downside, which is the Maelstrom of Battle scenarios. You kind of pick a table edge, deploy your Siege Engines before anything else comes on. So if your opponent then wins priority and they roll quite well, they have a very, very, very good chance of ambushing your Siege Engine, and you might well only get that 1 turn of shooting, which might not have any targets. Hopefully your warbands can come on and kind of protect your Siege Engine, but yeah, Maelstrom Battle scenarios are not your friend if you're using a Siege Engine. On the other hand, something like Storm the Camp is amazing. I got to play Storm the Camp at the GT with my army Goth mod, so I got to put a catapult in my corner and just fire rocks for about 5 turns completely unimpeded across the board. And if anyone wanted to come and attack my camp, there was a troll in it. So that was great for well, for me, essentially. So those are the kind of 2 of the biggest buffs, I think, that you get a little siege veteran, and that you get to deploy it on your own table edge. The Mordor War Catapult in particular, so look, it's got a range of 96 inches, which is basically, if you're playing on 6x4, it will be the whole board, even diagonally. I actually saw Matt Davis when he deployed his right in the corner, kind of bending huge tape measure over the board to check, and his opponent grabbed it and going, "Yep, well, I mean that's the table." So it's got a huge range of fire. It also has volley fire. It's a volley fire Siege Engine, which is a brilliant rule. Again, if you're the Siege Engine player, what it basically means is as long as any one of your models can see the model you want to shoot at, you can target it. Now that is incredible, because let's be honest, one of the models in your army can almost always see every other model in the opposing force. You're always going to be able to see unless your opponent is really, really hiding a model kind of right at the back. So that's cool. So it essentially means you get to pick any single model on the board. In terms of the splash damage, it's not an accurate Siege Engine. So what that means is that you pick any target, and when you roll on the scatter chart, obviously a 6 is what you want, and it lands directly on the head of that model. But on a 2 to 5, your opponent can pick any model within 6 inches. So protecting yourself from a Siege Engine, I think everyone's got a lot better in the new edition at protecting themselves, because they're far more used to seeing Siege Engines. So what you often see is models kind of spread out, essentially. You tend to get them that the models are more than 2 inches apart, because the splash damage of a lot of Siege Engines is 2 inches. But making sure there's at least one model within 6 inches of like every important model in your army, who then has no models within 2 inches. So you always have these kind of, if the battle line's moving forward, you'll often see these kind of 4 guys at the back who are basically within 6 of almost every model in the opposing army, but have no one within 2 inches. And the idea is that is the model that your opponent will choose to have the rock hit if it scatters. So that's the kind of way it works. And the splash damage for the catapult is it's a strength 10 hit on the model that it lands on, and then a strength 5 hit on every model within 2 inches, which is really, really good. Now, obviously, people are quite good at protecting it, but you can almost guarantee a kill like every turn, and sometimes for whatever reason your opponent can't split his models up, and you can do some incredible damage on it. The other thing that I found myself using a lot is the fact that even if the model doesn't die, it gets knocked prone, and so I'm always just aiming at my opponent's heroes on horses, like straight off. You'll see that in that battle report in issue 8, where if you've got someone like Aemma charging across the board to you with his 3 fate, you know that you're not going to kill him with a catapult, but if you land it on his head, you are guaranteed to dismount him, and there's nothing they can do about it. The way I always see it is that if you have on the Mordor War Catapult, the troll, the amazing, the really, I think, amazing thing about the Mordor War Catapult is the troll rules, which are that you can re-roll the hit dice and you can re-roll the scatter dice. That is huge. I've yet to use a siege engine that doesn't have that rule, and I imagine that if you're hitting on a 4+, as the Mordor War Catapult is, if you are on average only hitting every turn, it's probably a bit rubbish. If you just like, oh, I've missed, and then next turn, you know, I've missed again, it's probably a bit dull to play with, and it feels like a big points sink, I think. Whereas having the re-roll, it doesn't mean you'll hit every turn. You've got whatever it is, a 75% chance of hitting every turn, but you still miss, but you hit most of the time, and that makes it feel better as a player. It makes it feel fairer. Like, yes, I might have missed this turn, but the majority of turns I do hit something, and that makes it fun to play with. So that's a really great rule that just kind of keeps it interesting to use. Then you have the second role, which is the re-roll the scatter chart, and that is absolutely huge. So obviously what you're looking for is that magical 6. So you have the option every single turn you roll it. You get a 2, you get a 3, you can re-roll it, and I think in almost every turn, if I'm going for a big target, I would always re-roll a 2 to 5, even at the risk of getting a 1 for the chance of getting a 6, because the risk of the 1 is not nearly as problematic as the reward for the for getting a 6. So that is a huge roll, and what that basically means is you get 2 dice. You have the chance 2 dice every turn to try and roll a 6, and you've got a might point on the siege engine, which means you can turn a 5 into a 6. So the way I look at it is that once in the game, that means that roughly speaking, you have a 50-50 chance of landing on whatever you want. You know, because you've got 2 chances to roll a 5, and then you've got a might point. So for me, that means that it's normally in the early game, but I just pick the target I want, and I'm fairly confident that I'm going to land that rock right on that target's head. 2 rolls to get a 5+, with a might point if necessary. And the perfect sweet spot, the amazing thing is when you roll the 6, you don't even have to use the might. When that happens, the model takes a strength of 10 hit. It's instantly not prone, and if that model fails its fate, it dies instantly. So you can really put the fear of kind of God into your opponents, because you have things like, if you land it on Theoden's only got one fate point, and Theoden keeps a Rohan army alive, as we all know, in terms of the 2 buffs he brings it. You land it on his head, you're probably going to wound. You got 3+. Let's assume you always wound. Sometimes we don't, we know this, but let's assume you wound him. He's then got 1 fate point. He probably passes it. Maybe he rolls a 1. He has to use all 3 might points. That's a victory and a half, you know. And that's the threat of the catapult, that from absolutely miles away you can rinse a hero. And, you know, they have to use it, because if he doesn't use all 3 might, that's a dead Theoden. So I've had some spectacular success with things like that, and you can always kind of, you know, the cavalry models in particular, they can't spread out as much generally because of the base sizes, but you can normally guarantee that at least at some point throughout the game you're going to do some major damage to your opponent. Worst case scenario, you're just crushing the model to death every turn with a rock, and that's still a pretty good, you know, it's a pretty good return over the course of the game. So yeah, that's the kind of benefits of the Mordor War Catapult, and I absolutely swear by it. And you also have, as I said, this kind of spare troll, where you can, you know, I know I talked through that you can look at getting the siege engine for 40. Generally speaking, I look at it the other way around, that if we're saying that, you know, an Iron Hills Ballista or something is 75, the Mordor Siege Bow is 50. I think a fair price for the Catapult is about 100 points probably. So the way I always see it is that you're actually getting a half price troll. You're getting a kind of 50-point troll. You don't get the Catapult free, you get the troll free. That's the kind of way I look at it. So you get this kind of, you get a cheap troll who can't kind of move and fight as part of your army, but then he always gets involved in the late game when the army's closed. You can also use the troll to move the Catapult, which is really useful as well. So yeah, that's pretty cool. I've had some great shots with it over the years. I've had some really good stuff. I crushed Boromir to death in one go once. That was pretty spectacular. The other thing you can use it for is to save your own models. This was quite good fun. That again in the GT, Gothmog, who's incredibly important to the army of Gothmog and keeping it together. He's the Theoden of the army of Gothmog, I suppose. He had been charged by, I think it was Aragorn, the King of the Dead, a Herald of the Dead, and maybe a couple of guys, and he was obviously in a lot of trouble and was going to die. and I was able to land the catapult on Aragorn's head. Again, I think I got a 6, maybe I used the mic point, I don't know, but by landing it on his head, I knocked the entire combat down. Gothmog took a strength 5 hit. I think I killed some of the army dead. I killed Aragorn with that rock. I think I'd damaged him before, but I managed to kill Aragorn. But the big thing was, it's kind of like Sorceress blasting a combat, where it wasn't about killing Aragorn, it was about saving Gothmog, and the strength 5 hit is of course far better than the 20 hits that would have been coming Gothmog's way. So that's also a cool use of a catapult, a cool kind of tactical use to basically knock down unfavourable combats, which is very, very handy. So I've used that a few times. We also have some upgrades. For this, I know you can also attack siege targets, like things like walls and castles and all that. But I'm not gonna talk about those because they're in the rarity. It's more, we're more looking at match play games. But we also have we can upgrade to an Orc Engineer Captain for 40 points. I don't think this is worth it. I don't see a lot of people do this now. I think it was a much bigger deal in the old version of the game where we didn't have a siege veteran, and so you would need the might. Now you're basically paying 40 points for really 1 extra might. The might would be handy, definitely, but I don't think the 40 points is ever going to be worth it personally. Flaming ammunition. That is cool. 15 points again. It only comes into things if you're playing a siege, because it's reroll 1s against siege targets, I believe. And a mummock, of course. I think a mummock's the only thing in the book that's big enough to be classed as a siege target, which is quite interesting. So we have battlefield targets, infantry models, cavalry models, monster models, doors, small siege engines, siege targets, large gates. The mummock houses boats, large siege engines. Smaug? I think, he's not on either list. I would think Smaug's got to be a siege target probably these days, but who knows. If we get that dream matchup of Mordor War Catapult against Smaug, imagine both players are going to be arguing opposite ways. So yes, that's flaming ammunition. You can also get severed heads, which are 5 points and are absolutely amazing. I would always take this. The only time I wouldn't take this is if you absolutely know that you're playing, I don't know, Army of the Dead, or maybe elves or something. But even elves, I think I'd probably do with it just for the option. So severed heads cost 5 points. That's nothing at all. And what that basically does is the same sort of splash effect. I think it's still 2 inches, isn't it? Every model. Yeah, still 2 inches. Instead of a strength 10 hit on the target and strength 5 hits on everyone else, everything takes a strength 3 hit, which is still pretty good. I've used that as the option. The important thing is you don't have to, it's not one or the other. You don't replace your rocks with severed heads. You don't have to make that punt. You can choose it. And so I remember, again at the GT, I was playing one game where I started off firing at a lot of dwarfs. There was an army of Thor and Dale alliance. When I was firing at the dwarfs, I was firing the rocks. And then when I was firing at the Dale warriors, I started firing severed heads, because a strength 3 hit still needs 5s to wound, like everything it hits. So if you get it in a bunch, you'll probably kill some. And then every model within 2 inches, so it could be a load of models, has to take a courage test, and if they fail, they flee the table. That's amazing. That's absolutely brilliant. You find yourself against Goblin Town, severed heads all the way, 4s to wound and courage tests, and they flee. It's absolutely brilliant, and I would never ever not take that upgrade. I think because it's just a really interesting piece of kind of tactical flexibility to add to your list. So yeah, for me, severed heads is brilliant. And if you weren't playing Gothmog's Legion, if you're going down the Mordor route, you might be able to do some clever trickery with a ring wraith with a kind of -1 courage bubble. This is 12 inches. Maybe you move your ring wraith up to allow your catapult to do some severed heads shenanigans. Could be quite good fun. And then finally we have additional crew at 5 points each, so you can buy additional orcs. Might be worth it if you think your opponent's going to be sending a load of arrows your way, because you need to keep your catapult firing. I've never done it personally. If I'm brutally honest, that's because I'm at this point in my career, I'm very much kind of theme and visuals driven, and I only have 3 crew models, so it doesn't really appeal to me to put another like orc model with a spear next to the catapult. But for 5 points, it's hard to argue that it's not worth doing it just to give you a little bit of redundancy. So maybe if you find yourself with kind of 10 points at the end, absolutely severed heads and an extra crew member, I think. So there you go. Those are the kind of upgrades. I also found I found the catapult surprisingly good at being a sniper. I was playing at the GT. I think it was Capture and Control. No, I think it was Seize the Prize. So Seize the Prize, you often get models kind of fanning out and sitting on objectives, but not turning them over, ready for the end of the game to kind of claim it. I managed to kind of get, my army was all on together, so it was quite well protected. And I started the game by just smashing up a load of knights, like Imrahil and his knights. Basically, I was dismounting a load of them, which works very effectively. And then at the end, I was just lobbing these rocks across the battlefield at these single models who are far out of kind of normal bow range and would be completely safe. And the only hope you'd normally have of getting rid of them was if they failed the courage test, maybe if you broke the enemy force. But we know how that works. They're normally like models with bodyguard on the end or something annoying like that. But I was just chucking catapults at them, and I wasn't chucking catapults at them. I was chucking rocks at them with my catapult. And suddenly, it's 4+ to hit. Oh, I've missed, reroll. Oh, I've hit 3 to kill you. Bang! Suddenly that model's dead, and your opponent that could swing the game entirely. Because they can't dig up that objective, and I did that, and I cleared out I think 2 opposing enemy objectives over 2 or 3 turns. Similarly, you could do that sort of thing at domination, kind of clearing models off the objective. So it's a surprisingly good, you think it's going to be this big destructive, kill loads of models. It's also surprisingly good as a sniper, essentially, for taking out certain key models. So I always, you can aim at things like banners and warhorns and little shamans and stuff like that, and do real damage to them. So super cool. So yeah, that's it really. I think that's the catapult. I love it. It's tons of fun to play with. I think it's well balanced in terms of points. It's a huge point sink, but it can get you so much. And even if it doesn't kill a thing, just dismounting enemy cavalry is so valuable, particularly in this new edition. If you go down the kind of Gothmog's Legion force, you really have nothing that can deal with big heroes. Beyond your heroes kind of striking up and kind of getting lucky against them. So the fact that you can use the catapult to get them off their horses is super important. Even in a Mordor army, where you've then got a lot more flexibility in terms of magic and that sort of stuff, I think it's very effective. I think it can be a really good, valuable asset to your army. So I would take it. As I said, is it top table level? Is it that kind of dependable 160 points that's always going to make its points back for you? Probably not. It's probably not kind of top table craziness, but it's super cool and super fun. And as I've hopefully said over the course of this video, the model is just awesome, and it looks cool. And if you've got Gurits in your army, you get to go catapults, and it's fun to use, and it's a really great kit. So yeah, that's basically it. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Do you use catapults? Have you had any hilarious stories, things you've crushed to death, or are they rubbish, and am I entirely wrong? It would be great to hear from you. But other than that, I hope you've enjoyed this video. I don't know which order these are going up in, but either there's another one of these coming very soon, or there's been another one of these very recently. It really depends which way around it comes. But I hope you've enjoyed this sort of return, hopefully to some slightly regular content on GBHL, and it's nice to get another one done in this series. As I said, there is another one coming, and then I hope to do another one quite often. I haven't decided what the next one will be, but I do like doing these videos. I think they're quite fun to take a kit from all the way from the box to the table and the tactics and that sort of thing. So there we go. Hope you've enjoyed it. Until next time, don't forget to comment, like, share and subscribe. Like us on Facebook. Support your Hobbit host by clicking the links below. Support your Hobbit hobby, and happy strategy battle gaming.